Hello everyone and welcome to this week's math video. Last week we were talking about 2D shapes and we learned about sides and vertices. This week we're moving on to 3D shapes. So what is exactly the difference between a 2D shape and a 3D shape? Well, in a 2D shape, it's flat and it takes up no space, right? You can draw on a piece of paper or a piece of notebook paper. Doesn't take up any space. Now a 3D shape takes up space. So it's a lot like a 2D shape, but it takes up space. You might see some 2D shapes onto the 3D, it takes up space. So before we can hop into different kinds of 3D shapes, we need to talk about two really important vocabulary words and one really familiar one. First thing I want to talk about are faces. Now, when I say faces, I don't mean faces like these kind of faces. I mean faces on a 3D shape. A face is a flat surface on a 3D shape. I emphasize the word flat. It must be completely flat, okay? The next thing I want to talk about are edges. So an edge is where two faces, let's say this is a face and this is a face, where they connect. So right over here where they connect is called an edge. So I have little diagrams here. I'm really sorry this kind of got smudged in the rain, but right here are my faces. So remember the flat surface. Now the edges are going to be right over here, right? Where these two faces meet, that's an edge. Where these two faces meet, that's an edge, okay? Faces, edges. Now the next one is going to be a really familiar one. The last vocabulary word we're going to talk about are vertices, which in a 2D shape were the corners, right? It's the exact same thing on 3D shapes. A vertices are where edges meet or the corner of a 3D shape. So let's take a look at some 3D shapes and find out their faces, edges, and vertices, and decide what their names are. So, one really cool thing about 3D shapes, and I mean like really cool, they are all over your house. So I was looking through the pantry to find a 3D shape, and I found my absolutely favorite cereal. I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So let's take a look at this 3D shape at its faces, edges, and vertices. Okay, so this is it. I'm gonna kind of show you guys, okay? So first things first, let's look at the faces. Now a face is a flat surface on a 3D shape. So this is a 3D shape because it takes up space. So let's count the faces. So it must be flat, okay? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this shape, even though it's got a face on it. So this shape has 6 faces on it. Okay, so if it has faces, that means it has edges. Remember, an edge is where two faces meet. So here's one face and two faces. So this right here is the edge. So let's go ahead and count the edges. Now, it can be tricky because you might count them twice. So you need to make sure you're only counting them once. So I like to start with one side. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this 3D shape has 6 faces and 12 edges. Now last but not least, we want to talk about the vertices or the corners of the shape. So remember, a vertice are where 2 or more edges meet. So let's count the corners. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this 3D shape has 6 faces, 12 edges, and 8 vertices. How cool is that? So this kind of shape can also be known as a rectangular prism. A rectangular prism is a 3D shape that has 6 faces, 12 edges, and 8 vertices. If you find a shape like that, you have found a rectangular prism. So I really need another 3D shape to show you guys, so I'm not sure where I could find one. This will work. So this also, my water cup that I've had all day is a 3D shape. It has things around it. Now I'm gonna pretend for this video that this has a lid on top. Okay, so let's take a look at this and see what kind of 3D shape this is. First things first, let's find the faces. So that is a flat surface. Well, the first one I know is the bottom because that's where I rested on a table. So here's 1. If I had a lid, this would be 2. Would this be a face? Is it a flat surface? No, it's a curved surface. So that's where faces can get tricky because you need to make sure it is flat. If I were to take this and put it on a table, it would probably roll if I put it on this side, which means it's not a face. So this 3D shape, my cup, has 2 faces on them. Okay, so 1, 2 faces. Now let's see if it has any edges. Now an edge is where 2 faces meet. So at home, what do you think? Does this have any edges on it? No, really, and let me explain why. We talked about how this curved part is not a face because it's not flat, it's curved. So these 2 connecting, I'm gonna use the bottom here. These 2 connecting, that's not an edge, it's curved. It needs to be flat, okay? So it has 0 zip edges, which means it also has zip vertices. Does this have any corners on it? Any points? Nope. It just has lots of curves. So this kind of shape that only has 2 faces, 0 edges, and 0 vertices is called a cylinder. So if you find a shape like that in your home, where 2 faces, 0 edges, and 0 vertices, you have found a cylinder, and it is refreshing. Okay, let's move on to the last one for today. I don't know about you guys, but I love me some baseball. So I found this ball and I was thinking, well, this is probably a 3D shape, right? So let's go ahead and go down the list and see what this kind of shape is. First things first, let's find a face. So a face is a flat surface. I'm gonna let you at home take a minute. Do you see any faces on this shape? Nope, there are no faces on this shape, and let me explain why. It has to be a flat surface. On a ball, are there any flat surfaces? No, if I were to put it here, look, it rolls, which means there's no flat surface to stop it. So if there are no faces, can there be any edges? There are no edges on this shape. Last but not least, let's look at the vertices. Are there any points on this ball? No, not really, because then it wouldn't be a ball. That'd be really painful if you threw a ball with edges on it. So this 3D shape has 0 faces, 0 edges, and 0 vertices, which makes it a sphere, okay? So this is a sphere. A ball, a soccer ball, a baseball, a basketball, that's a sphere. All right, guys. So in today's activity, your job is to look at some shapes and look at their faces, their edges, and their vertices. You're gonna be looking at a table that looks kind of similar to this. All right, until next time, y'all have a fabulous week.